the Trans-America Trail backwards on a Supermoto, riding solo. Yes, you heard that right. In the summer of 2021, I did the Trans-America Trail. I did it backwards. I did it on a Supermoto. I did it by myself. Probably wasn't the smartest decision, but I made it. I'm in one piece. I'm alive. I'm pretty happy about it. So to give you some background, if you don't know what the Trans-America Trail is, it's described as a 4,253 mile cross-continent vehicular route using a minimum of paved roads. So I would say probably 60% of this is gravel, 20% dirt / mud, depending on what the weather is looking like. I give it about a 10% sand and then 10% paved. I'm gonna go on record right now and say there are sections I didn't do. They were either increasingly difficult or the weather was just not working in my favor, or I was dealing with some, mechanical issues. So I'm gonna go on record right now, I didn't do 100% of it. I probably did 80% of this trail, but I tried my best, so bear with me. So to give you some info, I started from Fresno, California on July 1st. It took me a few days to get up to Port Orford. I basically hooked over to the coast. I followed the coastline up to Port Orford. It was beautiful. I actually started the Trans-America Trail on the 4th of July, which was really exciting. I was on the trail for a while. I actually didn't even finish until August 14th is when I got to Nags Head in North Carolina. Mind you, I did have some breakdowns, like I said, and I took some time off. So my first breakdown was my coolant reservoir overflow. I guess it was cracked and I never noticed it. I started the trail and I was leaking coolant. I lost about a whole day dealing with this one. I couldn't get the part, nothing was open because it was 4th of July weekend. I ended up having to make the part out of PVC at a hardware store. It actually worked great. I just zip tied it to the side of the bike, got me all the way to Idaho where I was able to resupply. But it was nerve-wracking, going through the desert with a makeshift coolant, reservoir overflow. So this is a reason why I skipped some of the desert parts in Oregon and in Idaho. My other breakdown was in Tennessee, where my shift lever just fell off. I guess it just rattled itself loose. I had adjusted it before I went on the trail, and I guess I just didn't put Loctite on it like I thought I did. It rattled loose, it fell off. I only had one gear. All I had was fifth. I could have, gotten my vice grips and probably popped it into third, but I just left it because it was nice, because once I got up to freeway speeds, I was fine. So I went into a town that was close to Chattanooga where I had ordered some parts. That was a mess. I tried to go through Cycle Gear. They were saying it's going to take 2 weeks. All the Suzuki dealerships in the area, same thing, week or 2 weeks. I found it on Amazon Prime. They delivered to the campground, but that cost me 4 days. So that part really sucked, and it was hot. I also took a bunch of time off. I took 3 days off in Idaho so I could work on the bike and just relax. I've been on the trail for about, a week or week and a half, I don't remember exactly, but I was tired and I was beat up. It's nice to have a bed and a shower. My friend Andrew Townsend hooked me up, let me stay for free. I had access to the Wi-Fi. He cooked me some good meals. So yeah, man, I appreciate you, dude. You're an MVP. You're the VIP. And then I also took some time off to go check out Yellowstone. It's something that I'd never done before, and I really wanted to go see it. I was really lucky to get campsite, so I booked it up there, stayed for 2 nights, booked it back. That cost me 4 days. I also took a week off in Colorado to hang out with my girlfriend. She had some vacation time. She wanted to fly out and see what the trail was all about, so we did some camping and had a good time. So yeah, I would say I was actually on the trail officially 26 days. So I mean, it does take about a month, and I mean that's a month of you're riding every day, you're putting in 200 miles, you're busting your butt. On average, I was riding anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day, and that was just kind of the normal. You'd be surprised how quick you get used to just being on your bike for so long. At first, that was a tough thing for me, is just just sitting on the bike for 3 hours, man, my butt was hurting. But 3 hours is like nothing. Your butt doesn't even start hurting until like hour 4. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a hard trail. I underestimated just, you know, how difficult it would be every day. I mean, I don't know which route you're planning on going, if you're planning on doing it, but if you're gonna camp, I mean, it's 2 to 3 hours every day that you're dedicating time to doing camping stuff, like setting up your tent, blowing up your air mattress, cooking food. You know, that's the cheapest way you could do this, is just make oatmeal for breakfast and, you know, maybe some mac and cheese for dinner at night. But yeah, it takes time. You got to find these campsites. You got to go on some of the places, you got to go on these stupid websites and reserve them. So yeah, it could be a pain in the butt. Now obviously if you were camping, or sorry, staying in motels, it's going to be a lot easier. You're not going to have to pack all this extra gear. You're going to be able to just roll in, take a shower, go to bed, maybe go to a restaurant, treat yourself. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this trip. I chose the cheapest option. I actually enjoy camping. Now, did I enjoy, you know, 45 days worth of camping? Not really, but you know, I had the gear and I was comfortable. There was a few times where weather didn't really work in my favor. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can do this trip. If I had the money, I probably would have invested a little bit more in my bike. I would have invested a little bit more in my gear. I probably would have just moteled it the entire way. You can just make so much better time getting a good sleep every night. You're not spending all that time setting up and breaking down camp. But yeah, a lot of us don't have that option. You know, that's going to cost you a pretty penny. I dropped close to $5 just being on the trail, just camping. You know, things cost money. You got to buy gas. You're buying food. You're buying parts if your bike's having issues. I did all the work myself, so I saved in maintenance. But I mean, dude, if you're taking your bike to the shop, it's gonna get expensive quick. Yeah, preventative maintenance. Go through everything on your bike. I mean, if anything doesn't look right, it's probably gonna break on the trail. I remember seeing my coolant reservoir and seeing the little cracks in there, and I didn't really think too much of it, because my brake reservoir also kind of looks like that too. I actually ordered a brake reservoir and carried it with me just in case I had the same issue. So yeah, there's a lot to take into consideration when you're doing a trip like this. I had been planning it for years, actively buying stuff and, you know, getting my bike ready. I started that about a month or 2 out, and I still felt underprepared. I mean, there's so many scenarios that you encounter on the trail. My advice to you, if you're gonna do this trail, buy everything you think you're gonna need. Go out, do like a week-long adventure ride, or maybe even just a weekend. Test out your gear, see what works, see what doesn't work. See things you don't need. I brought a lot of stuff I didn't need. I maybe used it once or twice, and I only used it because I had it and I need to validate bringing it. So be aware of that, you know. Probably don't need the hammock. I packed the hammock and a mosquito net for the hammock. So yeah, just be aware that, you know, you're gonna want to travel light. When you put all that gear on your bike, you're gonna realize just how hard it is to control your bike off-road. You know, I ride my bike off-road, and it's, you know, it's different. And then you pile this gear on there, and it's like you're just fighting to keep this thing under control. When you do dump the bike, I know what you're thinking. I thought the same thing. You're thinking, dude, I'm not gonna crash on this trail. Yeah, I crashed twice, hard. And when you crash and adrenaline's pumping and your bike's on the ground, and when you have the panniers on there, the bike doesn't just fall like this, it falls like this, and you have to flip it back over by hand, and it's just less than ideal. Yeah, it's heavy, man. I weighed out my gear. My bike weighs about 400 pounds, and I had 160 pounds worth of gear that I had strapped to it. So picking that up is a chore, my friend. But yeah, if I could go back in time and do things differently, probably would have went with a fuel-injected bike. The carburetor, it worked fine. Mine was jetted for sea level, and I took it all the way up to, you know, 14,000 feet. And it still worked, but throttle response, you know, power, everything is just different at altitude. When you dump your bike at 13,000 feet and you pick it up and try to start it, it's not gonna start. So be aware of that. Go with brand new fresh tires. My tires were probably about 80, maybe 70, 80%. And I mean, they are bald. I have racing slicks now. The back is done. There's no tread left on it. There's literally a strip that's about 2 inches, you know, in diameter that it's just bald. And the front ended up, I think they call it cupping, where every other tread is worn down, and so it bounced along the freeway. That blew my fork seals. So yeah, I would also bring some chain lube with you. This is something I didn't do, and after about 3 weeks my chain was starting to get rusty and it was kinking and it was making a lot of noise. Yeah, I kind of regret not bringing that. I didn't really think about it too much, to be honest with you. Check your fluids. For the first 2 weeks, I checked my fluids every day. I was also dealing with that coolant reservoir issue. If you have the time, you know, go through, check your oil, make sure you got coolant. You know, make sure, do a quick inspection of your bike, because if you break down in town, yeah, it sucks, but breaking down in the middle of nowhere, you don't want that. You're gonna be so far away from civilization. There are times where the closest town is 50 miles on a curvy dirt road, which is gonna take you, you know, a couple hours to get to. On top of that, this town's not gonna have any of the stuff that you need. This is a tiny little 300 person town. Maybe they'll have like an Ace Hardware if you're lucky, but they're not gonna have specialized motorcycle parts. So do yourself a favor, you know, check your stuff thoroughly when you can. I know it's hard to make time on the trail. It's funny because you're gonna be on this trail and you're gonna be thinking, you know, all I got is time, but it just seems like there's not enough time when you're out there. So yeah, that was my trip. I'm gonna go through and make a bunch of videos. I apologize, I'm looking a little rough. I just woke up. But I really want to get some videos out there. I'm gonna break down all the gear that I brought. I'm gonna give you guys some tips, you know, give you some advice, you know, if you want to hear it. I don't even have the bike back, and I don't have a lot of the gear that I brought with me because I shipped it with the bike, and you know, that's gonna take anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to get the bike. But yeah, I shot lots of video, so lucky for you, you get to see some cool stuff. You'll probably see me struggling out there because it was hard. But yeah, more videos to come, friends. Stay tuned.